His career spans over 3 decades, during which he has held numerous pivotal roles that have significantly impacted India's economic landscape. Among his most notable contributions, he played a central role in the implementation of the Goods and Services Tax. He also spearheaded the preparation of India's first international sovereign bond issuance, a bold initiative aimed at diversifying the country's funding sources and optimizing debt management. On the global stage, he has represented India in several international economic forums, ensuring that India's voice is prominent in global financial discourse and policy making. His deep involvement in initiatives with the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank has strengthened India's position in the global economy. Drawn from a career dedicated to advancing India's economic growth and resilience, our speaker will share his invaluable insights on the topic, Future is Green, and what it means for manufacturing organizations. Please then join me by putting your hands together and welcoming Mr. Subhash Chandra Garg to the stage.
I think it's afternoon now, so good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. You've heard great speakers earlier. I don't honestly have great manufacturing experience, so I did work in a couple of public sector entities where there was a little bit of manufacturing was involved. But what has interested me in all my life in the administrative services and 5 years thereafter is to look at the phenomenal changes which are occurring. And I find in the manufacturing space, there is enormous change going on. So what I'll do is that I'll speak for about 30-40 minutes to give you a sense of the journey of manufacturing and as I see it, and how and where it is now likely to be headed. And then I think it will be great to have, yeah, it's there. All right. So, and then for about 20 minutes, let's have a very interactive session. I have no presentation, so I'll speak into your eyes and mouth and faces, so we will interact as we speak, and please feel free to raise comments, ask questions so that we can interact later on. So this is the way, if you look at the human history or evolution as it has gone on for millions of years now, more particularly in last 1 lakh years, is that humans started basically as hunter-gatherers. They were foraging for their foods, they were getting animals to kill, to eat. And the main concern of the humanity was to actually, or human beings, there was no society at that time, was to find food and sex, which is for reproduction, right? So, but basically, as far as what you would say manufacturing or producing, not manufacturing but producing, they produced only by collecting foods and they also collected some skins to wear and all. At that stage, the manufacturing which they were doing, they started doing by making some stone tools which will help them in catching the animals better, killing them better, skinning them and making it available for their food. Or sort of cutting down the fruits on trees, etc., etc. For many thousands of years, the basic endeavor in manufacturing was to make the stone tools. That was the Stone Age. Somewhere around 10,000 or 11,000 years back, the observation power in humans. Well, that's what their basic gift is, which is what distinguishes them from other animals. The three abilities, which I may put it this way: the ability to observe and discover, so discovering things, that how and why things are happening and what is good food, what is bad food. That is the discovery ability. The ability to understand then that this is what serves me as a good food, this can be my good cloth, etc. And so understanding things, this is poison, keep it out, this is not serving me well, this is keep it out. That ability to understand the nature of that product, and finally adapt themselves to using it. So it is DUA, dua if you want to call it. Those three faculties in humans which distinguishes them from others and which also allows them to actually go on to the journey of manufacturing. But before doing manufacturing, they discovered that there are lots of trees, shrubs, plants, etc., animals, which they can either sort of raise by doing agriculture or by rearing them. And that is how, about 10,000 years back or so, they started doing agriculture. And agriculture, as it went, started producing a lot of food products, and their ability to discover that this food can be processed or the fibers can be turned into sort of clothes or wool or otherwise, that ability allowed them to start what I would call the first real manufacturing. And that manufacturing was the age of hand manufacturing. They use their hands to actually do that manufacturing, whether you are sort of making the grains come out of the raw paddy, etc., or turning them, boiling them, making them, turning into food, or making the meat or anything else, or then turning the clothes into fabric by using handloom tools, etc. So that was the age where actually the humans started doing the manufacturing for the first real time. So the handloom age or the hand age of manufacturing, and that lasted for many, many thousands years. The discovery of power in the coal or steam power enabled the humans to make the machines for the first time. And that is what gave birth to what I would call the industrial age, which we know the industrial age, or the real manufacturing age. So the manufacturing age actually allowed humans to make different kind of machines to produce various kind of products and services which they wanted. It also improved the way the agriculture was done, or even the services were provided. And that the ability of humans to design machines of different kind to produce different kind of products actually released a very big constraint on the amount or the kind of product which we needed. It actually also expanded the food and clothes. And remember, for example, let us take the clothes. In the olden hand manufacturing age, the clothes were being, you were spinning the yarn, and that spun yarn was being turned into kind of clothes. And there was a great limitation. The ratio is very simple if you want to see. When the machines were invented to make clothes in a manufacturing or factories, the cost, per human production went up by 200 times. In the same 1 hour, a person in a factory could produce 200, let us say, meters of cloth. What earlier he was able to do it only on 1 meter in that period. And the cost actually became 1/200th. So the cost in terms of time or otherwise was, if it was 1, it became 1 divided by 200. So if you had that big advantage in manufacturing clothes in factories, there was no way the hand manufacturing could have sustained. And that is why the industrial age, in a very short span of about 200 years or so, 250 years, have virtually sort of make the hand manufacturing disappear. Whatever remains is good for taste, people like it still, certain customized things and all, those survive, but the bulk of the production has completely gone into the mass production in the industrial age. So look at the kind of difference it made for the human well-being, human desire. Ultimately, humans, to my mind, have 3 basic goals in their life: is to remain healthy is one, to remain happy is another, and to be prosperous is the third one. So if this human intention or goal to be healthy, happy, and prosperous is what was very well served by the Industrial Revolution. And so agriculture age at its top, it's the best, let us say, in the later 18th century or so, could support about 1 billion people in the world at best. That was, and still it was generating a lot of surplus, which allowed empires to come and the soldiers to be hired for security, and many other things also happened. A lot of creativity happened at that time, because people could be made surplus to do other kind of activities rather than getting engaged in food. But Industrial Revolution, or the manufacturing, machine manufacturing if we can call it, that manufacturing today supports 8 billion people in the world, more than 8 billion people. And though sometimes there is a little bit of a dramatic thing which is being said about somebody dying in hunger or something, fact remains that today there is no one who dies of hunger. The world is surplus in food. If there is some little problems, it is because the transportation, it's not ability, or somebody imposes some sanctions or ban in export or something, that may cause some temporary thing, but no one dies. The discourse is completely changed from the food not being available to humans. Today it's the hunger index kind of, where you talk about the nutrition, that you don't have this particular kind of nutrition, but not otherwise. So this is the Industrial Revolution or the machine revolution, or the machine manufacturing revolution has actually changed the world for better, for very, very good, and supporting. It may support another 1 to 2 billion, and there is no problem seems to be likely in that. Though it's a different matter that the world has started sort of stabilizing in terms of population, and a lot of part of the world is not growing any longer. So that we can discuss it a little later. So this second age is what I would term as the machine manufacturing age, as distinguished from the hand manufacturing stage of the earlier. The distinguishing aspect of machine manufacturing was the fact that it liberated the manufacturing of the need for humans to apply their hands or legs or labor. It's the age of automotive manufacturing. So lot of things are getting automated. In fact, manufacturing is becoming almost completely automated now. The larger the factory, the bigger the capital, the less is the human beings required for that. And the sophistication can actually be measured by how automatic it is. Is it 100% completely automatic, or it's it has left some jobs for the people to do it, or humans to do it. Now this is great. Sometimes since humans have this problem of recognizing the present pain much more severely than the present pleasure. They have this, they hardwired for that. So sometimes you would find people saying that we might be living in difficult times. These are very bad times, etc. Geopolitical tensions, and something is happening the other way. But if you honestly look at in a comparative sense, there is no better age than today for humans to have ever lived. This is the age of prosperity. This is the age of complete self-reliance on food. It's where the consumption, the health standards and everything are improving massively. But what happens? What happened? There is a very small downside of the human ability. So when you have this dua, but at the same time, you're not able to realize these effects or the side effects of what you do many times. So remember, I saw in one of the book when the steam revolution or steam engine was sort of invented, and this led to a steamboat also being produced by the humans. And there was a boat going, spewing the smoke. No one at that time could even realize that if it is spewing smoke, this can be a problem. Everybody was happy about the ability to drive, to go to the sea, to produce steam engine, to suck water, to take the coal, to produce everything. So everybody was happy. And we have now built very large power plants to produce power and all. But that little side effect, that if you're burning coal, that burning of coal leads to carbon and certain pollutants being spewed out in the environment. How important that is? Does it cause very large kind of discomfort, or it can be a big problem in times to come? That is what we tend to either not recognize or ignore in the early stages of the problem. People in the paper industry set up in the world realize when they started cutting down the trees to produce paper, they used to think that there is an inexhaustible supply of wood from the forest. But it did not happen that way. In fact, the trees started getting cut more and more, and the need for paper expanded much more. Same thing happened in railways. You put the railway tracks of wooden kind of thing. So this one sort of deficiency in us, that we can't realize the side effects and their consequences on what our well-being is, what our prosperity, what our health and happiness is, creates a problem. And that is what exactly, in my mind, has happened in case of the industrial manufacturing. So that machine or automotive industrial phase or manufacturing phase took out enormous amount of material from the bottom of the earth. It also took out enormous amount of fossil fuels from the bottom of the earth. The mining statistics tell you that every year we take out about 20 billion tons of material from the bottom of the earth. And that is what makes two big consequences. Number one, you make the earth, or you devoid the earth of its greenery. How do you recognize that this is green? I think the green is only if there are a greater part of the earth which is sort of covered by trees and vegetation remains covered by trees and vegetation. If that is taken out, the trees go, the wounds in the earth are opened up, it becomes more and more brown. When you take out the coal or hydrocarbons and then burn it, then it spews out so much of the pollutants and carbon that it makes our air, our water, and our sky and our land brown. So the consequence to my mind, the ill consequence of that great manufacturing, automotive manufacturing revolution, which happened, was that we made the earth brown. So you may also call it the brown manufacturing. Now, I think again, using our abilities of that DUA, we are recognizing that this is our problem. We need to solve it. And this is what we need to find solution for. So, to go to the theme of the conference today, future is green, how to make green manufacturing. I think the question is that how do we turn our brown manufacturing, which has spewed out so much of pollutants and carbon, into green, so that we can not only have the advantage of the great advances in manufacturing technologies, but we can also have the ability to control its disadvantages in the side products. So that is what I think the challenge of the green manufacturing is. Now, for this transition to happen, while every one of you in your own space, in your factories try to address this, I think there are three things which are very much required to make this transition to happen. One is that we will need to reduce the material and the fossil fuels which we take out from the earth increasingly lesser and lesser. The less material you take out, the less fossil fuels you burn, is our contribution towards green manufacturing or making the earth green again. That is one. Second to my mind is to make machines more and more adapt or able to produce goods and services. Ultimately, human beings consume everything in the form of either products or goods or in services. And the machines enable to do it. So can machines, their own production of machines as well as the production of goods and services by those machines can be something which helps in serving or producing products which are better and better in advancing this agenda. So, just for example, look at we using air purifiers in our homes now, right? Or we are making steel by a different technology. So, all these actually help in producing products which help you in sort of provide goods and services, better goods and services probably, without contributing much to browning the environment. And the last kind of third thing which can happen and should happen as we go towards the green manufacturing revolution now, is the ability to produce machines which actually suck out the carbons and the pollutants from the atmosphere. Earlier we were contributing, now we can have machines which can actually suck out. Can there be machines, and then I think many people have started doing it, for carbon sequestering. They are coming out with solutions, technical solutions, machine solutions, which actually can take the carbon out of atmosphere and put it down in the form of somewhere back into the bosom of the earth to sort of reduce the carbon load of the atmosphere. What probably we have not attempted at this stage, but we should attempt, is that the pollutants, the sodium, sulfur oxides of the world, the nitrogen oxides and many other pollutants which we get into our AQI, which is what disturbs us every time, is can we convert them into some sort of raw materials for producing better products? Minerals in the bosom of the earth were not also ready-made products. They were taken out, they were sort of, products were designed by processing them, manufacturing into different things and making them useful. Steel and other things led to production of cars, and cars provided us very kind of services. So it's not the iron ore which is car. We humans have the ability to turn iron ore into steel and steel into car. Similarly, do we have now ability to convert the atmospheric pollution into useful raw materials to make good products? So I think if these are the three kind of things which can happen, then we will be able to sort of move into the green manufacturing side. I think two things are happening in the world which makes one feel so good that this green transition of manufacturing is likely to happen soon. These two transitions, or the two changes are, one, the renewable technologies for producing power and electricity are advancing very fast and increasingly becoming commercially viable. In fact, many have already become commercially viable, and with certain additions like batteries and all, you can make, or the pump storage and other things, the electricity production through renewables route is increasingly becoming more and more commercially viable. And as things go, more and more advances, to my mind, will very soon make the renewable energy completely commercially better than the thermal power production, or even using the petrol or diesel or the hydrocarbons for running our transport and things like that. If this agenda becomes more and more, I think it's very easy to visualize that 20 billion tons, of which 16 billion tons is only the fossil fuels. The rest of the material is only about 3 to 4 billion tons. 16 billion tons of the hydrocarbons, coal and others can be very happily allowed to stay on inside the earth. You don't need to take out, or at least can be very substantially reduced. And those open pit mines or blisters in the earth which we have dug on account of this can actually be reconverted into green spaces. So it has that double advantage of this happening. So this is the one big promise to my mind which is happening. The second big promise to my mind is what the digital technologies are offering to you, right? So digital technologies allow the manufacturing to become more and more efficient more and more or less and less resource using, getting the best out of the product. No wastage, less wastage or that kind of thing to happen. That is what the promise of the digital technologies is, and that is what we see in increasingly almost every machine becoming intelligent. I'll bring the artificial intelligence angle here. Every machine is becoming. Today, I think in the world, while there are 8 billion people using about 10 billion smartphones to stay connected, there are about 35 billion machines which are also connected by way of this Internet of Things, and they are doing so many things by remaining interconnected using whatever little or more artificial intelligence they have, and is making everything so much more efficient. From your fridge to air conditioner to your light bulbs to anything you look at it, they're far more efficient today than they were earlier. And this ability, now to my mind, if the humanity takes it to the next level of the digital revolution which is happening, and very creatively and very ably sort of stream in the artificial intelligence into manufacturing, that will be the final killer of turning the brown manufacturing into green. How do you do this? So, remember, and that is the way I saw, the automatic manufacturing or automotive manufacturing or auto manufacturing as against the green hand manufacturing as you would call earlier, sort of freed the human for contributing their labor into production. The humans became more and more free to pursue other kind of things and less required to do the production. I am told, in a way, that's the assessment we have, that earlier humans, 8,000 years, 7,000 years back, almost 90% of the people were engaged in producing food for themselves in their agriculture kind of thing. But in industrial time, the machines increasingly freed them, and today only about 45 to 50% of the humans need to work. This is because the machines could take over all the functions of the human labor. The intelligence or the artificial intelligence which is now coming in is freeing or is likely to free the humans of using their intelligence for production. Humans have enormous amount of intelligence. That's every one has 90 billion neurons and all. So it's a different matter that most of us don't use even 5% of our brain capacity. That's a very different matter, and that might sometimes raise the question that when you have so much of human intelligence lying unused, why do you need artificial intelligence to do the work? That answer to my mind is twofold. Number one, that artificial intelligence allows the machine to do better manufacturing. Your intelligence or human intelligence allows the humans to do better productivity or live better. It's not transported, it cannot be transported to the machine. That's why only the hand and the manual power was transported in machine. But if the machines have to become intelligent, it has to be artificial intelligence. It has to be the intelligence of the digital networks. It cannot be the intelligence of the neurotic or biochemical intelligence which we have. So that intelligence has to be artificial intelligence, and if the machine has to work, we need to produce better and better machines using better and better intelligence embedded in them to sort of produce better and better products. So that is one reason why we will need to use artificial intelligence massively in our machines. The second reason is, to my mind, the artificial intelligence will have the ability to do a lot of things which humans cannot do. Like the automotive machines had a lot of ability to do what the human leg and hands could not do. Compare what a robot does while sort of assembling a car or producing a part. We have several limitations to become very fine manufacturer or producer, and those limitations are solved by the robots. Similarly, our intelligence, we have many limitations. A dog has better ability to understand smell and things like that than humans. It's no great thing to say that we are lesser than humans. We have many other abilities. Similarly, the artificial intelligence can create many abilities which the humans are not capable of doing. There was something said about trust in the earlier session. Think of very simple things like we keep chowkidars, so to say, to provide us security. But if it is a artificial chowkidar, a kind of, will it do a better job than the human chowkidar? It may have much better ability than to sort of see, scan environment, do it, react, pass on messages, raise alarm than human. Human may have some limitations. It might sleep. It may not be able to see very well in the darkness or otherwise, or it may need some support when it's standing outside. But you don't need an artificial sort of chowkidar to do that. I'm just illustrating this to make this point that the artificially run or artificially intelligence machines will have far, far better chances to produce better and better products, and many products which we today don't produce. And therefore, to my mind, we must welcome with complete openness. In fact, we should become pioneer if we can, to produce more and more of that intelligence kind of machine. So I think that I would put it like the hand manufacturing age, the auto manufacturing age, the ongoing or incoming age is the intelligence manufacturing stage. Whoever will produce using intelligence more and more will actually be more and more competitive and will be more and more productive and more prosperous. So can we usher in the intelligence manufacturing age, and that will take care of our problem statement number 1 of turning the brown earth into green earth. There is one side, in fact, we should also be conscious about this, as we have been unconscious earlier. So today we use a lot of electric-mechanical, magnetic kind of, for our transmissions and for data and for many other things. We also are accumulating or creating certain, we may end up creating certain in artificial intelligence machines which might become rogue. It's possible there might be some other side effects of this intelligence machine age or manufacturing age which we are not conscious. Can we do a better job of sort of assessing the likely side effects or which are happening? We don't know this electromagnetic transmissions, are they sort of transforming the waves in the earth, which does have some effect on our, is it more cancerous? I think we shouldn't ignore it like earlier we ignored. We should be very conscious and we should be able to use it, and we will have a big ally, this artificial intelligence, to actually help us understand those side effects very much better. So I'm coming to the end of my sort of speaking to you. I think we are living in an age, in my judgment, 1950 to 2050 is the best age of humanity. But this had the side effects of what we talked about, the brown earth, pollutions, carbon. From 2050, if we can make our effort so that 2050 onwards, the age of intelligence machines or manufacturing, turning the earth very green, perhaps that would be what we can call very close to making the earth a heaven. Thank you very much.
Please
Yes,
do
please.
put up your hands for any questions you may have.
Thank you, sir.
Yes.
So there is a quote saying that hard times create strong leaders.
Sorry, hard times. Huh?
Yeah, hard times create strong leaders. Strong leaders create easy times. And easy time creates weak leaders.
Correct.
And weak leaders create hard times again. Are we going towards the industry 1.0 prior to industry 1.0, where the time was very hard and there was no production?
See, I honestly have no sympathy with this view that we are living in hard times. As I said, I think we are living in perhaps the best of the times. I think this thinking comes from what happened in our case before 1991, which created that 1991 crisis. And in that crisis, the Indian leadership rose up and took very tough decisions, difficult decisions, to make things turn again. And the crisis or the hard times were used to sort of make the life post 1991 better for the human beings, soft or good for the human beings in India. But that's, and in fact, that becomes very testy kind of thing. If you, during the COVID time, if you would remember, there were many articles writing that we have the fortune of having another crisis. If you realize the irony of it, that's a crisis, a fortune. Because some of us have started thinking or believing that we need a crisis only to do something good. I think the human ability, and that is where we perhaps don't give as much credit to our real creator, the people with power of knowledge, the people who have the ability to think of unthinkable and produce new and new technologies or science or ideas which then change things. Right. For example, today iPhone was mentioned. iPhone is absolutely fabulous, or for that matter, any smartphone today, it has the ability. But it did not require a crisis to produce. I think the brilliant minds which were there, who sort of thought about and produced this technology. Artificial intelligence is another one. I think in the previous session, maybe you or someone raised a question about the innovator, and you were perhaps referring to Hinton, who is considered to be father of artificial intelligence, making that statement that there are many side effects and we should be cautious and things like that. But remember, Hinton has just got Nobel Prize, right? I am very much indebted to him for making that statement, for us to be aware of the side effects. But if someone is using this statement to create a scare about artificial intelligence, that is where I think is a problem. No one can stop, as Manmohan Singh also said, an idea of time has come. Artificial intelligence is there. It will come. You can't prevent it. You can't stop it. What you can do is that you can make a sensible product out of it. Remember the statement when the nuclear bomb was produced, that scientist who produced it, he said, "I am God now." And he also recanted that, "What have I produced? This can kill the humanity," right? And but I think sagacious human beings have ensured 70 or 80 years have gone since then, and those nuclear bombs have not used. So I don't think you can stop artificial intelligence or use to wait for a crisis to do good. The best creation is when there is no crisis, and when you have allowed your scientists and knowledge people to actually produce new knowledge and new products.
Mike.
I have a view on this artificial intelligence versus EI, empathy, or whatever the expression you gave us on the brown to green. It is an expression. If artificial intelligence is viewed with some empathy.
Sir, may I request you to ask our speaker a question, if
But
that's
if
what
you
you
want to paraphrase it, in short, please do it.
If artificial intelligence can be viewed with empathy, can it be a solution to the industry, manufacturing industry?
Is that you want me to comment on?
Yes.
See, this idea of empathy is not required, to my mind, to be sort of extrovertly explained or consciously explained. My assumption is that everything new you do which produces a better product or a better service has empathy embedded in it. I don't think you need to consciously do it. I have very strong view about businessmen being asked to do social service. I don't think it's job of businessmen to do social service. Let politicians and civil servants do it. They pay taxes for doing it. Businessman's job is to produce the best, most productive, most efficient products and services, which their consumers love it and take it. Of course, there is an element of businessmen trying to maximize their profits by passing on or socializing certain costs like pollution and carbon, which we discussed. Of course, that cannot be allowed, and the politicians and the civil servants or the government must make regulations to make sure that the businessman does not pass on those costs to socialize that cost. Short of that, except that, I don't think businessmen need to have any empathy. Just produce good, workable, efficient products and services.
Can I? Good afternoon, sir. My name is Pankaj Sureka. I'm from Vedanta Limited. In recent few years, some of the top economists like Mr. Raghuram Rajan has been saying that rather than the manufacturing, India should promote more of like a service industry because there our strength and the population will support. So what is your view on it? Can we really focus more on services rather than manufacturing?
See, I don't think Raghuram Rajan has said don't manufacture. I think he wanted to make a point that services is India's strength and services is something which we have neglected in a way. If we make more or pay more attention to services, we would do well. So it's manufacturing plus services. By the way, to my mind, you can't even deliver good services or you can't expand the services economy without producing good machines. Can you deliver IT services without better computers, without better machines? Can you do it? You can't. Similarly, so you have to manufacture semiconductors. Can you deliver better electricity without producing machines which can harness the power of sun? So I think this is a false debate. We should stay away from it. Let us excel in manufacturing. In fact, producing machines and products which can help us do more of services. And services is our strength. So to maximize our strength, you remember I think about 1.5 years back or about 2 years, 1.5 years back, the government came out with a notification restricting import of computer items, laptops and things like that you can't import without, right? Though better sense prevailed, in 48 hours that notification was put. But just look at the superciliousness nature of that move. We are the best producer of IT services in the world. Our share of IT services is about 40% in global exports. And how do we produce IT services? We produce only by importing these servers, these laptops and other things. And you are trying to make the import of those machines, the most advanced machines, in the false belief that we will produce it domestically. So if you can't produce it, the best of the iPhone has every year a new. And we have not produced the iPhone even one so far. So is it not sensible for us to be very liberal about importing the latest machines to provide the best of the services to the world? I think similar contradiction in our policy lies in the space of renewable energy. We import 80% of our cells and the modules from China and elsewhere. China is the leading producer, almost monopolistic producer of the cells and the modules. Now, if you want to restrict that, or if you don't want to do business with China, and hope that you will be able to produce cells and modules, you may ultimately be able to do it, but by that time, a lot of time would have flown inside the dirty Ganges or whatever, and you would have lost the opportunity. Isn't it much better to produce or import as much as cells and modules and produce cheaper electricity and better electricity to solve our pollution problem and also to supply a good amount of electricity to people? I think the kind of choices which we make, and therefore I would advise you not to read this statement of Raghuram Rajan in a versus sense. Please read it as plus sense, make the best of manufacturing, make the best of services. Yes, please.
Could we have a mic here, please?
Actually, Donald Trump recently has announced one more point is what are the products manufacturing in US. US company has to manufacture in US, or otherwise, if you are going to import, the import tariff will be going to increase. So that is one of the
Yes.
principles. So your as economic point of view, it will be going to affect India and our target. So whatever the 2028, we are working for the $5 trillion. So it will be going to affect anything.
See, I have to apply my mind to the implication of the Trump presidency. It's a very serious subject. I don't think you can. If I look back in his first presidency, there were 4 major impacts on India. One was on tariff. You just mentioned, you would remember his administration had taken away the preferential treatment to India, under which we can export hundreds of goods, duty-free or at a very low duty, because we were designated under their rules as a developing country, which he removed, and we now can export only those products with payment of normal duty. There were also tensions around that motorbike and other kind of things. The trade deal was also not. So how does the trade sort of respond, or what happens to this time? The China plus one policy had actually come at his time, which was supposed to benefit us because if that US companies can sort of take away or divert their production from China to another country, like Apple has done for that matter, India would be a worry for some time is doing. So that would help in India. Unfortunately, in last 5-6 years, it's Vietnam which has done much better than India. So that is, what does he do with respect to China this time? I think there are very different forces at work. Last time he was almost against anyone because he wanted to sort of build manufacturing base in US. Remember steel, he had imposed under the security law duty on import of steel, which not only affected China but also affected our export of steel. So how things this time, it's slightly better. He had gone against Mexico also. This time more Latino votes have come to him. In fact, many people say that presidency has won because it transfer of votes in Latinos and blacks. So it's difficult to say. There were other many on currency. He had come very close to designate India also as a currency manipulator on immigration, visas and things like that. So there are many aspects of it. I think we should update what has happened in last 4 years when he has not been president, and what his support base and the lessons, because I think one clear lesson in presidency 1 was that despite his efforts, manufacturing did not shift back to China, to US. So can you try that again? Will it? So I think we should apply our mind to really think out. But one thing which we are not uncertain about is that we are not a great manufacturing power. What do we export to America? Right. Can we collaborate with their manufacturers, their designers to produce things like what recently happened in case of one semiconductor for military application, where the government has signed an agreement for a private company in India to produce military label. Right. So that is, if we place too much emphasis on the so-called make in India, as against make with US, I don't know full implication of that, but if we can collaborate with US companies to manufacture in US or in India using our enormous talent, remember design, the semiconductors, the GCCs today, 20% of the global GCCs are in India. 25% of the chips designing is happening in India. But it's not Indian manufacturers, it's not Indian companies who are getting that designed. It is the US companies. Can we expand that collaboration to make it a joint effort? I think that will seize the opportunity for it rather than what he does with China or not doing.
So,
I think,
Bharani from Danfoss.
We'll make this
Sorry?
the last question.
Yeah,
Okay.
my name is Bharani from Danfoss. So, to bring a laugh inside the hall, can we expect any ITR relief in 2025?
I couldn't get you.
IT relief, income tax relief in 2025,
Okay.
just to bring laugh. But actually, my question is, MSMEs form the significant contribution for the India's growth. So, how are we equipped, or how is our ecosystem helping this MSMEs in this future green growth?
I think you're provoking me into another holy cow. There is so much of unnecessary glamorization about SMEs. Please live in reality. No MSME has any new technology. Their strength is to produce customer near customized product, right? And that is their strength. They are not innovators. They are not. They don't have produce which is world class or something. They can only be best if they work with the big industry or the big producer in clusters or otherwise. And therefore, we shouldn't only be protective around MSMEs. We should actually help them in doing their own strength. If we overprotect them, we actually make them weak. I honestly don't subscribe to this view that we should give tax concession to MSMEs, we should allow them below 2 crores, no GST, below this, don't do it, all kind of things. MSMEs need to be integral part of the manufacturing ecosystem. If a Maruti produces a car, there are hundreds of parts and other things which are required to be produced in the ecosystem. That is to be done by the small manufacturers. But it can only be done by Maruti and those small producers sitting together and farming out, not opposed to each other. So my sense is that if we allow the small manufacturing ecosystem to develop, flourish in that way, that is the best way. And second best way is to sort of make the MSMEs produce customized, customer-oriented things. I don't know, it's too early. We used to have tailoring almost in the decentralized sector. Then the mass production of shirts, t-shirts, trousers came and tailoring virtually evaporated. But the mass production cannot be customized for everyone, so you have misfit sizes. You have only large, medium, or small. If it doesn't fit you, and they have a standard specification, so be it. But today's artificial intelligence enabled or digitally enabled customization tools can actually allow small manufacturers to set up, I'm just illustrating one, tailoring shops in localized area and producing boots, clothes, and for a localized population of 1,000. Bilkul, absolutely customized to the mind. If his or her foot aches at a certain point or has some little outgrowth, you can still produce a customized kind of thing, which enabled by the artificial intelligence and this kind of production. So that is where I think we must bring that harmonious. The government policy should be to allow the ecosystem to develop its own commercial understanding rather than providing too much of protective, which will make them weak, to my mind. By the way, this also is true that a lot of statements are made that MSMEs produce 30% of GDP, MSMEs produce 70% of exports and things like that. It may be partly true, but it is actually, no one has ever computed this. This was done about 30 years back, a certain ratio was arrived at, and today you do it, subconsciously take it. National accounts have a data on the corporate manufacturing and another data on the household manufacturing. This is produced by the national accounts every year. And if you work out even amongst manufacturing, which itself is only 20% at best of the total GDP, of that 92% is the corporate manufacturing. It's only about 8 to 10% which is the household manufacturing. So where do we get this? And we keep on sort of perpetuating those myths. It doesn't serve our interest well. We should be real and we should have the fact guide us rather than fiction. Thank you.
If I can take one question.
Please.
Thank you so much, for such great insights, etc. and so on. If as government that, we have to have a focus that ours will not just be volume-driven manufacturing, but very high-end value-driven manufacturing, which you nicely pointed out on how AI can be a great tool. What as policy and also for people, industry bodies and industries to advocate for could be few policy suggestions. I know there will be a lot of complications in implementing them. What would be policy suggestions in a positive sense, right? That can have a good impact in us catching up to these great nations, becoming China plus one. You rightly pointed out, we did not become China plus one, somebody else taking that position. So we have to catch up to that race. How do we do that?
You're asking a question, I think, which is where we should see the government makes the policy, even for industry, manufacturing and all. But government is the worst businessman. Can a worst businessman make a very good manufacturing policy or for industrial policy? The best, every good product in the world has come from the private manufacturer. Whether it's America or China or anywhere. China also, those are, many of them are state enterprises, but it works with the private spirit, where every party man has become a private producer, so to say. So, if we want to really, it happened in the Nehruvian time, where we decided self-reliance and we'll produce everything in India, we'll not allow foreign technology to come, foreign investment to come. And even after 2014, in the garb of Make in India, we are actually perpetuating the same policy of self-reliance or whatever, where we wanting everything to be made here, right? So, in my judgment, we are not great manufacturers. We have not really evolved many technologies. If you do an honest review of whatever products today are in the world and what is the basic technology behind them, and then try to analyze that how many of them, of these technologies, have been produced in India or developed in India, then you will have perhaps an answer why we are not a great manufacturing nation. Because if the original technology is not with us, or we have not evolved, how can we be actually producing products which are new and innovative? But mind you, the greatest minds in history have been Indians, right? We were the very big observer of the natural phenomena. We produced Vedas, we produced with Upanishads, we produced so many of these scriptures which are completely out of the world. We produced zero, we produced initial mathematics and all. That was the age in which our people were innovating, thinking of new knowledge. But for last 1,000, 2,000 years, we have stopped innovating. We stopped producing new knowledge. It is in our mindset, if I may say so. Those of you have seen that Naya Daur film, where the competition is between a car and a belgadi, and everybody is cheering for a belgadi. If you have that backward-looking mindset, you can't actually forge ahead. Right. So I think if the government were to do it, is to leave the business to itself, leave the industry to itself, leave the innovators to itself, and completely open up. X is completely opposed to what the government policy is. Make imports of knowledge, technology, investment completely free from anywhere, including China. Only if you look at the history of last 50, 60 years, or the transformation of nations, in Japan, South Korea, Taiwan, China, now Vietnam, none of them were original innovator of technology. All of them got the technology from somewhere. And then by reverse engineering or whatever, then they innovated and produced better products at cheaper cost. We did not do this at any stage. If we have any good chance, for example, I don't really believe that why can't we produce better chips? Why can't our companies produce better chips? Why can't we produce better solar and the wind products in times to come? If we get the best of the technology from wherever they are and then use our talent to sort of find how can I improve it and then go for that improved product. So I think that is where the big change is required in my judgment, rather than these kind of small protections. Bhaiya, duty laga dijiye, we will not allow this, we will not have the business with our neighbor. If I studied it right, the solar technology, the solar photovoltaic, for 50 years, for about 40 years, the Australians were the most advanced. They were producing better and better photovoltaic cells to capture more and more. The trick there is very simple. How can you capture more and more of the sunlight to produce electricity? That is what the technology is. And it started with 6 to 7%, it went up to 20, 21%, and still the leadership was with the Australians. But then the Chinese got into the game, and they started finding that how can I improve further? And today, the photovoltaic cells technology leadership is with China. They have gone up to 28% or so. Where are we? We can never innovate from 0 to 29. We can only get better if we can get a better sense of 28 and take it to 30.
So, sir, which means less internal policy, less protection policy, and more free trade.
Absolutely.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.